I should have done this, right? Or maybe we could have checked this a little bit more. What would that have been?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I feel like I had a good idea of the deal and what I was getting into and everything. And obviously, as a lender, you should don't let your excitement over the
Mm-hmm.
return or your first deal get in the way of that.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, welcome again to another episode here at the channel where we talk about private money lending and educate folks that want to get into private money lending on how to secure their capital, how to be smart about it, how to do their due diligence. And today I have a special guest, Lucas. He's part of the communities I'm part of. Lucas, bro, thanks for being here, man, and taking time out of your day, away from your family and your little one to spend time here and chat about private money lending.
Yeah, Edgar, thank you so much, man. This is awesome. Super excited, and hopefully, I can give some value and help others.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited to have you, man, because we've been connecting here and there. You were here in Atlanta at a mastermind event a few months back, and it's pretty cool to see the growth that you've taken in that private money lending space. But before we dive into that, people do want to get to know, right? Hey, who is Lucas? Why did Lucas get into real estate investing? So, Lucas, tell us a little bit about what got you into real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a Bigger Pockets podcast listener for a very long time. I loved Brandon Turner, as I'm sure a lot of people do. And, I would just listen to it on the way to work every day. But I would listen to it and not do anything about it. And I
Yeah.
would do, and that was
We've all
like
been there.
a year, maybe 2 years. And I really didn't know how to get into real estate. I thought you had to cold call and then you buy the
Mm,
property and then you manage the tenant and you have to live close by and you just do that over and over again. And then I came across Pace and his YouTube videos and I'm like, man, this guy he has something going. And so I joined both his communities, Sub 2 and Gator. And I kind of realized that lending seemed to speak to me a little more,
mm.
just because, as a lot of people can probably relate to, cold calling, I'm like, nah, I'm
Yeah.
good. Managing a tenant also probably pass on that. And then there's this private money lending thing. And so I'm like, man, this is super interesting. So I just,
Mm,
started educating myself on it and so forth. And I was lucky enough that I worked for Tesla and I had a lot of Tesla stock sitting around
nice.
at the same time I was learning about all this. And I'm like, you know what, man, this Tesla stock is like a roller coaster. What if I just
Mm.
start selling some, getting into deals, learning, and then we'll go from there. So that's how I started.
Ain't that something, man? I want, take away some of that stuff, right? On how all our journeys begin. You mentioned that cold calling, agent outreach, seller outreach, right? On the wholesale side of the business, but then also that buy and hold, right? Like being the landlord and being able to manage tenants and stuff like that. But people sleep on the business side of lending, right? And it's interesting how we both kind of just fell into that. To your point, right? It's just being able to put our capital to work as well, but at the same time help others, right, grow their capital. And a little bit more secure, you mentioned how things, like in stock market, there's huge fluctuations. Sure, there is that fluctuation in the real estate, but at least it's secured against a tangible asset.
Absolutely. At least it's something you can like see and control. With the stock market, you're just like, well, I hope it goes up.
Yeah, what is Ellen gonna do? What is Mr. Musk gonna say and take the whole stock down? So yeah, there is
Exactly.
that whole thing, right? So interesting. So did you ever get to cold call, man? Like, did you call sellers or agents? Did you get on the phone and tried it for a week or 2 weeks, or were you just like, no, I'm not doing that?
No, I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. I actually was starting to learn about doing it. And
Mm,
then I heard Pace say, there's so many different ways to insert yourself into a deal. it doesn't have to be, you don't have to acquire it. You could fund it. You could be the TC. I mean, you could bring the money if you know someone that
Mm.
has the money. So there's so many different ways. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds, bringing the deal or bringing the funds sounds way better. And I'll let somebody else do that work that I, not necessarily like to do.
Yeah, such a good point, right? It's always interesting how we just hear something and we're at that right time in our life where it resonates with us, right? Because probably, I think since, always people tell us, make sure you invest. Okay, well, I'm investing to your point, right? You were investing in the stock market. Yay, you were, making potentially good returns, right? But just being able to leverage that and put it into real estate now. Pretty cool. So you cashed out some of your Tesla stocks and you went into private money lending. Tell us a little bit about that first private money lending experience. Was it one of those where you had your full SOP? You met somebody in the community and they walk you through the whole process. How did that work out for you?
Yeah, so I met someone in the community. It wasn't the first time I talked to them. It was like maybe the second or third time where they're like, "Hey, I have this deal," and they did walk me through the whole process. And it was something where, you didn't have to bring all the funds.
Mm,
We could have you bring a portion of it and someone else bring a portion of it. Uh, so I think maybe instead of doing the whole thing, doing a portion as your first deal maybe seems a little bit easier because you're like,
mm.
oh, I'm not doing all this whole money. I'm just doing half of it. Don't know if that makes sense now, but it did at the time. And yeah, I mean, it was funny when I wired the money. Man, I checked the bank account numbers so many times just to make sure because that was the first time I've ever wired money. And yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, okay, so there are the numbers, and I'm like squinting to make sure, like, okay, are we sure
Mm.
there's three zeros? It kind of looks like four from far away. Uh, so yeah, it was a little nerve wracking, but then
Oh, for sure.
yeah, I mean, it went awesome. Got paid back early,
Nice.
and then we just kept going from there.
Let's go. That's exciting, man. It's always good, right, to hear that first experience where things went smoothly. There are others that did not go as smoothly, but tell us a little bit about what made you feel comfortable right through that process. Did you understand like the type of loan you were getting into? Because I think that is one of the fears, right? A lot of people hold back from lending in real estate. It's like the uncertainty or fear of not knowing what they're getting into, even though it's an asset, right? But just understanding certain things, like maybe like the position, like how much you're actually lending against that property. How was that? Like, if you were to go back and I'm glad everything went smoothly, right? But if you were to go back now with your knowledge, been like, I got lucky, maybe I should have done this, right? Or maybe we could have checked this a little bit more. What would that been?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I feel like I had a good idea of the deal and what I was getting into and everything. And obviously, as a lender, you should don't let your excitement over the
Mm-hmm.
return or your first deal get in the way of that. But I think I also may have a different type of strategy where I'm very focused on the borrower and references.
Mm,
So, we all like when you talk to somebody, we all have energy. You can tell right away, I'm either getting along with somebody or I'm not.
mm,
So I really pay attention to that stuff when I'm talking to the borrower and, just trying to, would I hang out with them? Would I have a good time if I had to spend,
right.
at the airport with them for 5 hours or something? And, and I kind of like, check that box. And
Mm,
then if they can provide references of other private money lenders that I can talk to and say, "Hey, how was it working with Edgar?" And they say, "Man, he was great. He communicated, paid back early or on time." Like if I get those two boxes checked, I mean, I'm looking pretty good and it's hard for me to say no. And now I
yeah.
obviously do look at the deal just to make sure. But yeah, I like really focus on the borrower and reference side because I think at the end of the day, I'd rather do a maybe a bad deal with a
Mm,
great borrower who has integrity versus a great deal with a borrower that just, I don't know, they don't really care
right.
about you and so forth. Because like
That's
at
so
the end of
true.
because at the end of the day, something is gonna happen, and it's then it's gonna be the person that you're
Hmm.
dealing with, and so that's kind of how I approach it.
Yeah, no, you shared some, hopefully, y'all are listening in, took some great notes on that because it's so important, right? The jockey is so important as well as the deal because the deal can only take you so far, right? Things happen in real estate where maybe a contractor does something wrong and then that puts the borrower in a hole, right? So how does that borrower get out of that jam, right? Could they easily just say, well, it's not my problem, it was the contractor's problem, but that's not the right solution, right? To bring into the table and to blame a contractor. So to your point, yes, sometimes numbers look perfectly, and we'll dig a little bit into like first position, second position here in a little bit, but you know, just the security knowing that you have a borrower that has gone through difficult times and been able to pay back their lenders is so important, right? But besides that, you did mention the deal, and I think that's where it's important to go back and mention, was it first position? Was it second position? Was it third position? Did you know the position you lend capital in is so important. So going back to that first deal, do you recall what position you were lending money in?
Yeah, it was first position.
Oh,
So,
amazing.
as good as it comes.
Yeah, that is so powerful. And the reason we bring up positions, just for those that maybe are tuning in for the first time, it's like it's how you secure that capital, right? So if something goes south, you could foreclose on that property. And when that property sells, you're the first position in line to get paid. So it's so important to be in those type of deals. Now, the returns may not be as like high returns like you would see potentially in second or third position, but that is because there's a higher risk. So have you, Lucas, been involved in any like second or third position leans, or did you just right away stay away from those?
I have been involved in second position, and I've
Mm,
had a lot of success with one specific person.
let's
So,
go.
so there you go.
That's awesome, man. Well, that is good news, Lucas. So, just we always talk about, right, how secure you want to make sure your capital's secure, right? But that jockey is so important, right? Because if that jockey does what they're going to need to do, you're going to get your money back and with great, amazing returns. So awesome, awesome. So you've done a few. So I'm assuming all of these were more for like fix and flippers, right? Type of loans.
uh, yeah, a couple were fix and flip, and then the second position one that I just mentioned is the borrower buys sub two deals and converts
Okay.
them to co living.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great strategy right now with the current situation. There's definitely a need for housing. People are converting single family homes into, some of them have like 7 bedrooms or 8 bedrooms, just depends on the size of the property. It's definitely a great exit play. So pretty awesome, man. So on that deal, did you structure just to be a PML, or are you also a partner in the deal?
So that is a PML. And so I came in to fund the entry fee and a little bit of the refurbishing costs. And then it was for 6 months, and they paid me monthly, which, just separately, I really enjoy monthly payments.
Mm,
Uh, it feels like income more than if you get it at the end.
yes.
uh, and also, there's also some things with, if something were to go wrong and you have monthly payments, you can know a little bit earlier that things are going wrong. Versus, if things are going wrong day one, and your promissory note says, well, I only owe you in six
Mm,
months, technically you can't do anything because they haven't defaulted, even if you know
right.
something's going on. So, yeah, I prefer monthly payments for sure.
God, that's so important right there, man. I think that's one thing, right? That Abraham Gray also mentioned to us back on that PMO mastermind. You always want to have those monthly payments in there, right, to ensure that you mentioned, right, if there is something going on, that you're at least aware, right? So those monthly payments are super important when you're setting up your promissory note. And to Lucas' point, right? I mean, if they fall behind schedule, you're able to know. I mean, you could potentially put in there, hey, if you miss a payment or two, we have the right to foreclose. But then, it's how everything's written in the paperwork. But I love monthly payments as well. So, we talked about the type of deals you've been into. Pretty awesome stuff, man. From fix and flips to a co-living property. Are you looking to acquire any co-living properties for yourself, or are you just still focused in the lending space?
Still focus in the lending space and, different ways to get capital. So business credit. I have some self-directed IRA that I'm transferring over. And, actually, about 2 weeks ago, I met someone and we are actually going to be buying RV parks and mobile home parks.
Wow, that is awesome,
So
man.
just started sending out LOIs. Don't necessarily know every step, but I have a great community and network that once
For
I
sure.
actually have the problem, uh, I'll have people that be able to solve it versus, just letting that fear stop you. And, you
Mm,
go through all these hypotheticals and then it's like, well, do you actually have any of those problems? Like you haven't even done step one and you're like worried about step 10. So,
yeah, that's so true. I wanted to touch on that here because it's so important, right? The mindset and the community that we're part of, how they kind of push us, right, to for um, higher goals, right? And it's challenging, right, for us to stay on that mindset. But once you're surrounded within the community of people that want to achieve more and be able to help and solve bigger problems, that's pretty awesome, man. So excited for you, Lucas, about that progress, in the RV space, man, mobile home space. So pretty cool. Before, you mentioned you're still in lending space. So I know you're currently doing a lot of land, right? Lending in the land space. So tell us a little bit about that, right? Because it is different from like a single family home, fix and flip, or like a co-living space. But you recently, also, just maybe a few months, right? You started doing lending in the land space. So how does that look like? Tell us a little bit more. Just share some info.
yeah. So, yeah, I just had a couple people that approached me that, I became friends with, and they're like, hey, we have this opportunity. So we kind of all pitched in and funded this land flip. And that was like, yeah, 2 months ago. And it's still out, but, not expected until, at least 3 or 4 months. And then, these borrowers also just have a lot of other deals.
Mm,
And, we're also looking to help them get those funded as well. And a couple things about land, the margins could be a lot bigger than fix and
mm,
flips. So, land, it's not out of the realm that you buy land for 100K and sell it for 200K.
hmm.
Like, that's, you just doubled your
Wow.
money versus, a fix and flip, you're probably not doing that. There's instances where you could, uh, but it's just, the margins are bigger. And also, I don't know, with fix and flips, like looking at a scope
A
of
lot of
work,
unknowns, right?
yeah, a lot of unknowns. Looking at the scope of work, doing all this stuff, I just don't want to make that my whole business because I don't
Yeah.
necessarily enjoy like, oh, great, there's this long scope of work, looks good to me, and also with land, let's say the worst case happens, you got to foreclose. The land is the land. Someone didn't go in, totally screw up the HVAC and the floors, and then like
Right.
you have to foreclose, fix everything, and then sell it.
Mm.
With land, man, that thing has been untouched. That is the same land that, was there 3 months ago. So worst case scenario, you should be able to sell it for what you bought it for, no problem, and get your money back if that were to happen. So that's why it's been appealing to me. Just
Mm,
because, I mean, man, the fix and flips, there's just so many moving parts. Uh, that yeah, land just seems it just seems like it's a little simpler. Uh, so so far
no,
it's been good.
yeah, that's such a good point, man. How you phrased it, right? The land value is going to be there. I guess one question though that people are going to ask is, right, like when you're looking at single family homes, the comparables, you always go by, hey, what recently sold, right? What sold within the 90 days? What sold within like 6 months, right? So you can get an idea of what the market is doing with single family homes. Is it the same process or similar process when you're looking at land to say, hey, Edgar, Lucas, we're putting this money into land on this land. How do we know if we're lending the right amount, right? How do you go about doing your due diligence from that perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the borrower we work with has a lot of experience, so that definitely helps. And I mean, it is kind of similar to comping a house. You can comp land. You're looking for similar. You're really looking for like the price per acre, and also within the similar area. Uh, but you also have to take into account like who is your buyer,
Mm,
and also what is on the land. Like if there's
mm,
this huge lake, like people can't build anything on
mm,
if there's a huge lake. But what if someone wants to convert it to a fishing pond? You know what I
mm,
mean? So it could be like
right.
that could be so attractive to somebody else and then so unattractive to somebody else. So just kind of knowing your buyer, and just like is someone going to build a house on this, or is someone going to for say use this as a hunting club?
Mm,
So maybe, as a hunting club, they kind of like if there's like a little lake, and like, trees and stuff like that. Versus
right,
if you
right.
want a house, you probably just want nothing, just the land and that's it. So just kind of knowing your buyer as well, is super important.
Yeah, that's so true, right? Because whether you're selling it to a big developer that's going to create a subdivision, or whether you're selling it to a buyer that's going to use it for recreational purposes, when you look at these land deals, are you looking for like infill lots that you're lending on, or is it more like these like 50 plus acre lots that you're subdividing it from the lendings that you've seen and the type of borrower you're working with? What are the main focuses?
Yeah, I would say more the bigger lots and subdividing. Uh, Now the subdividing, it just gets a little bit more complicated, just because like it turns into all separate transactions, right? Like
Mhm,
you
mhm.
buy the land and that's one transaction, but then you subdivide it into five different parcels. Then you have to sell five different pieces of land. So it just gets a little complicated, but that's also where a lot of the value is.
Right.
Because when you subdivide and sell it, I mean, man, you could double, uh, even like triple, the money of it. So yeah, it's they like the bigger size and subdividing, and I'm starting to learn all the nitty gritty stuff about that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's
That
pretty
is
interesting.
yeah, that is pretty interesting for sure, man. Exploring that whole world of land flipping, or I think that's what it's called, or but yeah, being able to acquire all this type of land and just subdivide it. So pretty awesome, man. You're getting into that and you're lending in that type of asset class because, to your point, right? There aren't unknowns. I guess the only unknown would be if you were to deal with somebody that is new. I guess, Lucas mentioned it, right? Your borrower has to be like high priority when you're lending. And having this borrower that has that experience, they're not going to acquire a land where maybe it's a flooded zone, or maybe that there's something in the survey that somebody didn't catch, right? Because land could be potentially bought, but if it's not buildable, then it's worthless. So having that borrower with that experience is a must.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, pretty cool, Lucas. Man, well, I'm excited for your journey, man. You got mobile home parks, RV parks, and then lending and land. Hey, both of those tie in hand, man. Maybe you acquire some land, all of a sudden you do a development like a new RV park or
Hey, man, it's been in the back of my mind. You know, you
let's
never know.
go, man. Well, hey Lucas, man, thank you so much, man, for connecting and you know and having this conversation with me about private money lending and you know the stuff you're getting into. Where can people connect with you, man? Just so if they want to know more about RV parks or if they want to know more about land, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, Instagram would be the best, at lucas.ludgate. I post a lot about private money lending and kind of my experiences. So yeah, definitely, reach out to me. Happy to chat with you and see how I can help you.
Awesome, awesome, Lucas, man. Well, thanks again, man, for joining me. Hey, everybody, I hope everybody took knowledge of this and you know something we haven't covered before, which is the land lending and land deals. So definitely connect with Lucas. But for now, peace out, everybody. See you on the next one. Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you.